And now, ladies and gentlemen of the old world, we're back in business once again with a community showdown featuring the High Elves, who shall be led by Kassar Jake. Today, my friends, he faces off against the Vampire Counts, who shall be led by Devin. So let's go ahead and take a look at these armies. And as far as the lords go, it is going to be the mighty Teclis here for Kassar and the High Elves. Teclis certainly very common on his bird. I feel like he's a little bit more of a rare sighting here on horseback these days, but it's a very good choice, especially if you are going for an archer build. And you know, the High Elves have a couple ways to play. Probably the more typical way to play this matchup is you see Alarielle, you see Tempest. So if they do come in with an air force of gooses and dragons, you can basically just Tempest and shoot them down and or win with your monsters in those more optimal trades. But this is another style of play as well. You bring Teclis, you bring Nets of Amatoch, you lock down the high value targets, and you methodically pick them off with all your fire damage. So Talons of Torquelada here do fire damage. They also imbue fire weakness, which makes the Everqueen's Court Guards hit that much harder. Of course, Sisters of Avalorn themselves do magic and fire damage. So very, very powerful against like Terragoostes and Vargeist and things like that that are weak to fire. So front line's going to be Spearmen. Don't really need much more than that. The Spearmen, of course, hold back zombies and skeletons, and if they are fighting against some of the monsters, they can be okay against like Gooses and Vargulfs, and yeah, they will lose to Graveguard, but you know, High Elf Spearmen are certainly very durable for their cost. 51 melee defense is quite good, so he's got 4 of those bad boys in the front line. As far as Silver and Guard goes in this matchup, I don't think it's worth it. Although Silver and Guard, it really just comes down to how would they trade against like the more elite Vampire front lines against Graveguard. I feel like they would still lose that fight, so probably just basic Spearmen are more cost effective. But like I said, in the secondary, it is going to be a Teclis net combo using the Everqueen's Court Guards and all these elite archers to focus down the high value beasties. In the back, we do have the Fireborn. Fireborn are quite good here against the vampires. They can fight against the elite Vampire Cav, can fight against the monsters. They also do fire damage and have anti-large themselves, so plenty of applications. And what's really cool about Fireborn is they're like a dual-purpose cav. Much like Blood Knights, they're very good against infantry. They can, you know, shock down chaff, can do okay against elite troops with a charge bonus of 80, but also they have anti-large, so good against infantry and cav, which is one of the reasons why Blood Knights are the best cav unit in the game, in conjunction with the fact that Blood Knights can be resurrected. Over here, he does also have Phoenix Guard, Reavers as well. Reavers are a good inclusion to deal with hounds and bats. It's very cheap, very cost effective. Point for point, I think Dire Pack costs like 650, regular Dire Wolves cost 500, Reavers are just over that. And they can handily beat them in combat, and also can pin in monsters and other units. I really think Reavers are one of the best units on the High Elf roster, in multiplayer, not in campaign. So, for the vampires, zombies into the sunset. It's going to be one of the first times I can resist singing that Cranberry song. It's going to be Graveguard, Stearnsman, and more Graveguard, so we are going to be seeing the elite infantry put to the test here against the Spearmen. 2 Fellbats for some disruption on the archers, and we do also have a Blood Dragon Vampire Lord with the Helm of Discord, and 2 Gooses up in the sky. So the Goose is certainly quite good against a multitude of things here. Breath Attack's very powerful, as are their anti-large abilities against Fireborn if they can catch those guys in a bad situation. Now the bats are going into a little bit aggressive, so first misplay of the game here, sending in the bats, I think you would want to wait like till your other units are in position to collapse and then you go all at once. Granted, I guess they were pretty close together, like their starting position, so a little bit of a tricky one. But yeah, the Fellbats pretty much just get mulched and pretty much caused 0 disruption there. The Fireborn will be able to melt them, but the one thing these Fellbats could do here is if they, you know, pull in the Fireborn and the Blood Dragon Lord gets a big breath attack right here, that could be very strong. But my goodness, look at that breath attack right there. That was just pure destruction. So, I mean, yeah, he took a bit of a hammering on his bats, but that was 100% worth it. I mean, and Kassar Jake has a very good quick reaction, right? He comes in with probably a regrowth here, but there's nothing left to really regrowth. Those Sisters of Avalorn just got, what, man, 38 models taken out instantly. But, you know, the Troll Soul is being paid. Very good response here. He does get a net on the Blood Dragon Lord. Gets the Talons of Torquelada to come in with that beautiful fire debuff. And then also follows up with the Everqueen's Court Guards to really pound that Lord down. So that was really good. Both players getting a little bit of back and forth there. Granted, losing one of these sisters is quite punishing here. Now the Fireborn, the elite of the High Elf Cav, going to be coming in as Teclis does cast the Enfeebling Foe here on the Mighty Goose. And the Goose has taken some heavy damage for sure. Sisters in melee aren't bad, 47, 60, 32, but of course putting them in guard mode and having them shoot here would probably be the best bet. But yeah, this is pretty good here for the High Elves, honestly. And here in the back you can see that the Vampire Counts are going to be chasing down the Sisters, which is a good play. 22 Sisters of Avalorn are still quite impactful. Oh no, a little bit of a tough situation here. Teclis is certainly in a vampiric pickle, as he is being attacked here by the Blood Dragon Lord, and he's heavily outmatched in this duel. Sword of Teclis does not give combat stats anymore, so he's going to be having to run, but Potion of Kroy makes Teclis surprisingly tough to snipe for a wizard who's basically just wearing a nightgown. So he's going to be running for the hills, and it looks like, oh, is that going to be a Wind of Death? Look at that, a wild Wind of Death appearance here in this game. Does go in, it tears up a little bit of Phoenix Guard, and also hurts the Everqueen's Court Guard quite badly, so very, very scrappy game by both players here. Spearman in the front, like I said, holding against Graveguard and decent troops, right? Like, these guys are just now getting below half health. They've been fighting the Stearnsman. That's really, really good value out of those High Elf Spearmen. Although, like I said, there are other ways to play. You can come in using like Phoenix Guard boxes with dragons and monsters. I think one of the more common ways I do see this matchup played is using like a Lariel with Tempest, but you know, Teclis is of course very, very good as well. I think Teclis is a great legendary lord. So Teclis now going to be dropping another net here on the Goose, but the problem is there's not too much follow-up. Granted, over here we do have the Everqueen's Courtguard who could turn around really quickly and drop some huge bows here, and it looks like Jake is going to get that going. Let's see. Yeah, now they're firing, so they're going to get a couple nice volleys here while the Goose is netted down. Fireborn have piled in as well. In the meantime, the Blood Dragon Lord just kind of perusing here in the front line, going after some spearmen. Certainly probably wants to go over here, take out the Courtguard, but it looks like this Goose is most certainly going to be getting cooked. Brings me back to the StarCraft days of the Fire Bats, but yes, this Terrorgeist here is going to be going down. Negative 50 leadership. I do not think there's going to be any way to salvage that. And the Talons of Tor Kaleda, the mighty fire damage arrows in conjunction with the fire weakness imbuing, are able to bring it down. So another breath attack going down here on Teclis. He does take a little bit of damage here. Certainly has to be careful. If that Goose decides to dive on him, he could be in trouble. But a good Potion of Koroi is going to be mitigating almost 50% of the incoming damage. So he takes 2 shots there. If Jake hadn't popped the potion there, he probably would have lost Teclis, or at least he would have been to the point of almost breaking there. On the far side, we have another attempt of gooning going on here. The Blood Dragon Lord comes in, gets hit with the Invocation of Nehek, as well as a debuff, which is now worn off. But the Fireborn able to fend him off, and it's a really close game, honestly. Teclis is certainly in a bad way, but we do have 2 groups of Phoenix Guard that are both quite healthy. But oh no, another breath attack! Right as I say that, totally jinxed that. I mean, as if this game was live, but it's not. It's a replay. But the Phoenix Guard here just get absolutely wrecked by the breath attacks. I was about to say, like, you know, I don't think the vampires have anything that can really efficiently deal with these 2 Phoenix Guard and these Fireborn. Then suddenly, like, one breath attack just melts them down to like 40%. Teclis, unfortunately, is going to be teleporting back to Lothern, I'm sure, after he is taken out by the Goose here. The Goose able to feast on the large horse. Fireborn charging into the Graveguard. And actually, the elite infantry here are starting to cause problems. You know, the Graveguard are going to be very tough to get rid of. 66. 85 right there, 86 right there, but it looks like this Blood Dragon Lord's in a little bit of a tricky situation. Everqueen's Courtguard still have 31 models. He's getting melted relatively quick, but another breath attack coming in is able to do some decent damage to the Phoenix Guard here on the periphery. Is the Blood Dragon Lord going to be surviving? It looks like he's going to be trying to drop a zombie summon to buffer himself against the cav charges, but I don't know. If he goes down, that might give the High Elves a way back in this game. They're certainly a little bit behind here on the balance of power as that Goose does come in and slams into some of these ladies here. Burn into the witches for sure, making Rob Zombie proud. Fireborn going to be peeling up and around. Phoenix Guard stuck in combat versus Stearnsman, which, though they do have decent AP and you know, decent combat stats, when Martial Mastery is gone, and also, you know, Halberds do have slower attack speed, they're going to have a hard time in that trade. Stearnsman's healing is really, really good, and their bonus versus infantry and baseline stats are quite cost effective. So looking at the battlefield here, really looking like it's going to be a game for the vampires. Granted, the Blood Dragon Lord does fall over here. You know, I never click on that little skull. I always forget that it jumps you to the action. Anyways, over here, Spearmen are going to be fighting Graveguard. Doing a decent job. Graveguard are crumbling. A couple rear charges from the Fireborn would certainly help them get to the grave a little bit quicker than they already have. Zombies on the far side losing to Spearmen as well. And here it looks like the Goose is just methodically picking off everything that can basically deal with it, right? Everqueen's Courtguard, these Talons of Tor Kaleda, the Fireborn, these are all threats on the battlefield that, you know, honestly, if they're able to take out the Goose here and get a good surround and focus it down with these Talons, that could be enough. I think maybe Cycle Charging Fireborn could potentially deal with the Graveguard just through pure attrition while the Phoenix Guard hold, but it's still a very tall order, especially considering the Goose is the prerequisite. Killing the Goose needs to happen for that strategy to work here, and I don't know. I don't see that happening. I think the Vampire Count's the key to success here for them is to make sure that they don't let the Goose die. If they're just cautious with it, just pick off the low-hanging fruit, go over here, let their Graveguard play that slow push game, I think they're going to be in good shape, because there's still a lot of them, man. 58 right here, and it looks like 43 here, and a very pitched fight versus the Phoenix Guard. Phoenix Guard up to 152 kills, but when you're facing undead factions like Vampire Coast as well as the Vampire Counts, you can't really give too much credence to the kill count because honestly a lot of it is just zombies and skeletons and like summons and things like that. So here comes the Fireborn charging into the Goose here. The Goose takes a little bit of damage, goes to negative leadership for a second, which is nice. A little bit of free damage potentially for the High Elves. But the Graveguard, I think, are going to be the X factor. The Phoenix Guard are holding, might actually be able to beat the basic Graveguard. They aren't the Stearnsmen, obviously, so they don't regenerate and their stats are a lot lower. And the Phoenix Guard, of course, you know, probably would win in a vacuum against a standard Graveguard, but the Stearnsmen proving to just be an absolute pain this game. Those guys just charging in there and just going deep. And yeah, now the Cav are about to be kind of pinned in by the Stearnsmen as well. The Goose is getting very low, and you can see the High Elves actually pulling back on the bounce of power here as some archers do rally from the tree line. What witchcraft is this? And it looks like the Goose is going to be going down. Look at the bounce of power. Oh my goodness. Is this going to be a comeback? You know, it's funny because usually when I watch replays for my channel, I watch like the first couple minutes just to make sure it's like contentious in the beginning, but I don't finish them because I like to be surprised by the ending as well. I think that makes for a little bit more of an exciting experience. So, yeah, look at this, guys. Graveguard are going down. The Phoenix Guard, of course, very elite on leadership. Might be able to do it. And here the Stearnsmen are being picked apart from a couple directions. Oh my god, look at the balance of power. It's dead even here in the middle. Everqueen's Court Guard certainly got to run. 36 speed against 27. Yeah, kiting here is the best bet. Using all your ammunition. Is there any cav left? Looks like we got some spearmen coming back here. Going to be collapsing on the back of these Graveguard. More Graveguard and more Graveguard. So many elite troops, though. Fireborn are back, but there's only 5 of them. Yeah, I guess just kiting the Graveguard to the best of your abilities and keeping them away while you like work on all this stuff is going to be the best bet. Yeah, High Elves actually pull ahead in the balance of power. Fireborn go in there. Probably going to lose a model on impact. They got 5. Stearnsmen do have decent melee attack. Are able to crumble these guys. I think the best bet, though, would be using Fireborn to come over here and just crumble things with leadership hits in the back. But I guess somebody has to deal with Stearnsmen. And they are critical binding. A couple of fire arrows are going to be seeing to that. 3 leadership, 6 leadership. Man, nowhere near their healing cap, though, which is a little bit concerning here for the High Elves. Yeah, Balance of Power is High Elf favored. Man, what a scrap this is. And the Fireborn, 5 models of 45. 96 kills. I think committing to this fight is a little bit of a mistake here from Jake. I think bringing the Fireborn and the Everqueen's Court Guard back and just, like, you know, picking off, like, maybe, like, occupy them with, like, 1 spearman and then, like, coming around and deal with all this other stuff. I don't know. I guess you don't really have a choice at this point. You got to follow the attacking rules. So, yeah, I suppose he was doing the right thing. So here comes the full surround. You know, Talons of Torquilade aren't bad in combat, I guess. Yeah, 22, 24, 24. Yeah, I guess they're pretty terrible in combat. I had them confused with Everqueen's Court Guard for a second. But the Graveguard are just holding, man. Look at this, 46. And the problem is everything here is, like, really susceptible to the bonus versus infantry. Yeah, look at that. And then the High Elves are running in every direction. And, of course, Jake following the attacking rules here. Solid dude. Pushing into the Phoenix Guard who are going to hold. But the problem is he needs a surround here. Like, if some of these troops could attack into the back of the Stearnsmen, they would crumble their leadership. But, oh, man, I think that's going to be it. What a crazy game. Let's fast forward a little bit as these very slow units march. Spearmen are going to be piling in. Here comes the fight of fights. Very heavily outnumbered. And you know when you're outnumbered by undead, things are bad in this situation. And, yeah, the Spearmen here are going to be breaking, not before they get a couple pokes in there. We have the Talons of Torquilada. Everqueen's Court Guard maybe coming back. Spearmen coming back as well. Yeah, if they could all engage at once, maybe. Because, you know, the Graveguard here are crumbling, but crumbling isn't that punishing, really. It's only 10 HP per second, and that's going to be game. Man, what a good match. That was solid. Back and forth, and I got to give huge props to Kassar Jake here for sending it a loss. Not too many people do that. I would say about 95% of the replays I get are people winning themselves, which, you know, it's understandable. It's human nature, but big props to you, Jake, for sending it a loss there. It was a great game, man. You played very solid. Both players did, and really the name of the game here for the Vampire Counts was the Breath Attacks. Like, the Breath Attack eradicated one of the sisters. It just brutalized another one of the Phoenix Guard. Like, the Breath Attacks were so on point against the elite High Elf troops, and that really was what won the game. Not too many mistakes, honestly. Jake played a really good game. A couple of little mistakes in the beginning from the Vampire Counts with the Fellbats, but aside from that, he really made up for it with his Breath Attacks and his tenacity with his monsters. So, very well played to both players. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this High Elf versus Vampire Count game. I most certainly did. That was a real on the edge of your seats kind of game. But until next time, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this game, and we'll be back with more content soon. Take care, guys.